Kia ora, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm sitting here with my sister,
Poe Tiare.
and we hope that you enjoy this episode. Okay, let's go. So not many people are going to know this, but I was actually there the day that this young lady was born. So a whole 21 years ago, I was there. So I think what maybe been like a few doctors, nurses, dad, mum, then me who saw you when you was born. And I still remember the photo, and I had like a bowl cut and that green, same green that you're wearing now, that t-shirt. So yeah, and now you're here.
Yeah, I am.
Having a conversation on this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel weird?
Being on a podcast?
No, not just this podcast, but like because I'm your brother?
No, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the stuff that you talk about, it's not stuff that we talk about often, eh?
No, yeah, I'm used to doing interviews with people that don't know me at all, so it's different talking to someone that knows me.
I actually think it's way easier to do it with people who don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
Yeah, because I can dish it out, but with people that I already know, I'm like, oh, you already know this, so why am I explaining this again?
Yeah, something like that. But like in this, I think you should just, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about you, and I found out when we did that documentary stuff.
Yeah.
Like when we had that sit down.
Yeah.
Just describe, because I've described my point of view when I did an episode and I talked about what it was like having to open up about that sort of stuff. But from your end, because you had to be the person doing it, how did it feel for you?
It was hard for me driving the conversations because obviously it's conversations that we've never had before.
Yeah.
It was really awkward. I remember leading up to it, I had no idea how it was going to go and how people were going to react to all of this sort of stuff that we were talking about, because obviously I was talking about how I felt like I didn't learn enough about my Māori side and I've learned more about my Cook Island side and how I feel like I've just really missed out on everything. And yeah, because our family doesn't normally talk about this sort of stuff in everyday life, it was really scary.
Yeah.
And I felt really vulnerable at the same time because had to do it in front of cameras and a whole bunch of strangers.
I thought that was the weird part. The weird part was that we were having conversations, like really deep conversations between me, you, and Dad, and like it was the first time we had ever spoken about any of it. But we also had like 4 strangers in the room.
Yeah.
So like when people watch it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is so nice." But what they don't know is that they have a person with like the boom arm over the top. You're mic'd up, and you have like people asking questions. You have cameras that you're not meant to look into. There's just so many things that people don't think about.
Yeah, it's all very although they try to make it as natural as possible, it was also very staged.
Yeah.
Like moving the lounge around and just the walk-ins or the little conversations in between just to make everything sort of look aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, so that stuff's going to be out in about May, but that I'll put links up and stuff when it does come out. Because I think, when you do hear this side of it, and I think you're going to hear a little bit more, when you watch it, it'll give you really good context to the follow-up from you. But you spoke about a few things in there, like talking about not knowing your Māori side because you learnt most of your Cook Island side, obviously, because you grew up with mum more. Yeah. So you've been all over the place. You've done a whole bunch of things at the age of 21. So for you, what's, now that you're older and you can reflect a little bit on it, how has that journey been for you?
I've absolutely loved it. There's been a lot of lessons that I've learned throughout my time. I've obviously I've learned more about myself and about my family, which I really appreciate. I feel like I've accomplished a lot in a very short time of my life. Which a lot of people wouldn't have been able to accomplish or would have been accomplishing later on in their lives. So I feel like I'm very grateful for the experiences I've had and Yeah.
So just with that, because you've done the most trips back and forth from the Cook Islands to New Zealand of all of us. You were always the one who was kind of, so like, I think the last time I moved back there, you were moving back. So like we always had someone there with mum.
Yeah.
But you were with mum most of the time and you went when you were about 8?
8, yeah. Yeah,
you were 8 years old, nice and small. And you were the first to like move there and be there for all of primary school, intermediate, and then college. So for that, thinking about where you were in New Zealand, you probably don't remember much when you were younger, but the transition when you moved over, how well did you find that that move?
I found it very hard because 8 is about the age where you start to remember things and learn a lot of things. Like anything that comes through, it becomes a core memory and a part of you. And I had established a good lifestyle here. Like obviously I was with my godparents, my mum and papa, majority of the time. So I had that well-established relationship there. I wasn't ready to leave anyone.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what it was going to be like because I'd never been to Raro other than when I was really little. So I had,
yeah, you were like a
I had
baby.
no memory.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what this place was going to be like. And obviously moving to Raro, and not having knowledge of the culture either, what it was going to be like. It was a bit hard trying to fit in at school as well.
That's right, yeah. And I remember it was like, me and Marta both had a choice. We were asked, and we were like 13 and 4. No, I was like 14. Marta was probably like 12, and we kind of had a choice to be like, nah, we don't want to go. But I remember you had to go.
Yeah, I had no choice at all. And even when I asked Mum, like, oh, why didn't you ask me? She's like, oh, well, there was no, I wasn't going to leave you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you did get there, so like, how long did you find until it, like, you started feeling like you were starting to fit in?
I think it took me about a year. I remember throughout the first time that we had moved, I kept asking Mum to send me back. I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me like a good year to settle in at the school, to settle in at home, to make some proper friends as well.
Yeah. I mean, because it's weird. So most people go the other way, where they'll go like from the islands to New Zealand. So you go from like having just everything that you need to live your life to like coming here and just having everything. Like you can have internet, you can go on everything, like all of the, you can have running water, you can actually drink from the tap, all those sorts of things. But you went the opposite way. So for you, having to get through, like, what were some things that you found? I know you were really young, but what were some things that you found actually started helping you with that transition?
Definitely, well, Mum was a real big help. She was really patient with me majority of the time.
Yeah.
And also just experience, like the first year that I was there, I got I got boils from the contaminated water, so I learned that I couldn't drink the water there because it was unfiltered. Got motorbike burns, a muffler burn on my leg, so I learned not to stand next to bikes.
Yeah, so the muffler burn, it's like the on the motorbike, there's the muffler that everyone knows about, but basically you get a tattoo, and people call it the tattoo, but it's where you step, so you just press your skin up against it, and it blisters up right away, and you just have this huge mark, and it's with you for the rest. It kind of looks like a brain, eh?
Yeah, I was off my legs for a couple of weeks. It was bad. It was real bad.
So you learnt not to go near
bikes. And also, I think what also helped me get grounded a lot more was when I got my pets. That helped because then I was like, oh, I don't want to leave them. I got my dog, Ice, who passed away a year ago.
Yeah.
But he was my very first pet there, and he really kept me grounded. And then not long after that, there was my cat, Nala. And having them there as a responsibility to take care of made me feel a lot more at home.
Yeah.
Also, at the time, I was attending church, so I had sort of established a routine on Saturdays with my stepdad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Good old Icy boy. So he's three-legged.
Yeah, three-legged dog.
Was it weird? It's always weird. Every time I go back, just like the amount of dogs, and like you don't know who's looking after them or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, half of the time, the dogs that will approach you, you'll think are strays, and then you'll find out they have a home.
Yeah, you like think they're strays for ages, and then you start hearing someone's walking with them, or someone's like calling out to them, and then they run off. You're like, oh, you bastard!
Yeah,
I was looking after you.
I fed you for months.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And then, so I think once you establish yourself, it takes a bit of a while, but then it got to a point where I felt like there was a shift where you actually started not wanting to come back to New Zealand too much. Like a lot of the Christmases and stuff, you were actually looking forward to going back and being with your friends.
Yeah.
And then, so like, when did that when did it become home to you and start feeling like, nah, this is where, besides the pets, but like actually establishing your whole routine?
I think it's once I started college, because by the end of primary, I had started getting more into the culture and stuff like that. I had established a good, close friend group as well. And I had started putting myself out there more, because prior to that, I wasn't really doing much. I was just at home majority of the time.
Right.
But then I started getting myself into like sailing or any sort of like groups and stuff. So I did start to socialize a lot more.
Right.
And started just working with the community a lot more. And I loved it so much that, I didn't want to come back. Well, when I was here, I was desperately wanting to go home, because I had people to go back to this time around.
Yeah, and you always have something to do.
Yeah.
Like, and stuff that you actually belong to. I find that the further away you are from places, you start feeling like you don't actually have that connection anymore. Like, the place is cool, the people are the same, your family's the same, but like, you don't belong to anything. You don't have clubs or anything that you go back to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's how I felt. Whenever I came here, like, and I was with family, it was like there was already things going on and I was just sort of there.
Yeah.
Like, I've got my cousins and my aunties and stuff like that, but they've had all of these experiences throughout the year with each other that I can't connect with or relate to, but I've got a whole bunch of people back home that I can connect with and relate to and enjoy my time with them.
Did you feel like a lot of it was like the same conversations as well? Because if you come around Christmas, everyone just asks you like, how's mum?
Oh, yeah. Exact same thing. So, what are you doing, Raro? Oh, does it get boring over there? Oh, do you know what this song... A lot of people think that we live under a rock, like,
actually,
that we're completely disconnected. So they'll show me movies like, oh, have you seen that movie? I'm like, yeah.
Oh, that's a flash phone. How'd you get that?
Yeah.
From the shop?
Is it expensive over here? Oh, is it cheap over here?
It's hot, eh?
Yeah.
All the time.
Are you cold?
Yeah. No, yeah, all the time. And it's the same question. And I think, I don't know, it's always hard to explain that to different people. Like, another thing that people probably... it's a difficult one, especially like with us and having to go... Like, we're going to uni, we do all that stuff as well. But like a lot of people who think you come from there just aren't very smart as well.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of my uni friends who have spoken to me, and when they find out that I grew up in the islands, they'll be like, oh, wow, your English is just so good.
Yeah.
You've got such a thick New Zealand accent, or you're just so smart.
Yeah.
And then when I explain to them, like, oh, yeah, I've done NCEA and stuff like that as well. Not many people know that.
Yeah.
We've got New Zealand passports, we're New Zealand citizens, all of that sort of stuff.
Use New Zealand currency and everything as well. Yeah. But so with that, so like you talked about some of the clubs that you were a part of, and one of them was the sailing stuff. Now, without throwing it away a little bit too much, but like Poe Tiare can barely catch a ball. And like it was weird because when you were younger, and I remember I used to always talk to mum about it, but we were like, you were limmy, you had all these limbs, and we're like, oh yeah, she's gonna be the athlete. And then like I think I saw you a couple summers later, and you were like, don't throw the ball, I can't catch it. And I honestly thought you were joking. And I threw it to you, and you just like couldn't catch it, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? But sailing, like you got into, and what was it about sailing that you really enjoyed?
I really enjoyed the
and just what type of sailing is it?
So the sailing that I was involved in was traditional sailing. So I was a member, and still am a member of the Cook Islands Voyaging Society, and essentially we work on the double hull vakas, and the vaka that I sail on is Marumaru Atua, which is one of the 7 vakas that is a part of the group. So with this vaka, there's many voyages that go throughout the Pacific, all the way to America or all around the world. And we just do traditional sailing with the help of navigations through the stars, the elements and everything, and just the winds basically on our sails. We do have a solar panel on the vaka, but we very rarely use it, and the solar panel helps
With the electricity?
No, it works the motors. So if we ever do get stuck, then the motors will be running and that will push us. But yeah, I started not long after Mum. So Mum left in 2012 for her first big voyage. Which
2011.
Oh, 2011.
2011, yeah. I remember that year.
Yeah, so that was 2011, and she sailed from Raro to Hawaii and then came back home, and she was gone for about 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, she was gone
on
for
that
ages.
Yeah. And throughout the years after that, she tried to get me involved, but I didn't want to. And then after a while, I actually enjoyed it and started putting myself out there a lot more. The one downfall is I get really bad seasickness. So I'll be good for the first half. Once we get out the passage, I'm fine. And then about an hour, maybe 2 out at sea, then I start getting really, really seasick. And it's horrible because you don't want that.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is on the sea.
Yeah.
For however long you're out there, there's no way where there's
no
water.
turning back.
Yeah.
Once you're out there.
When you're out there, what's the biggest things that you learn? So like not only about traditional sailing and stuff, it's like stuff about yourself.
I learnt to work a lot with teams. So I wasn't much of a team player. I didn't like talking with people. I didn't like being around people. I had really bad anxiety. But on that waka, you learn to be a part of the team and work as a unit. So I actually became a lot more sociable on that waka.
Yeah.
And then I also learned more about myself as a person and my identity and my culture and stuff like that. I felt really connected.
Yeah.
And grounded as well.
Yeah.
And also once you're out there alone by yourself, you stay with your thoughts, and I learnt that, sometimes I don't need a lot of people around me to push me up, because, at the end of the day, it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you think about all the dramas and stuff that you have, or like whatever you call dramas.
Yeah. Well, once you're away from that, you realize, oh my gosh, it's nothing.
Yeah, like there's bigger things. There's like survival and stuff that you have to think about.
When you're out on that waka, you have to drop all of that because you're on this boat and you're trying to get somewhere, and those dramas aren't going to help you.
Yeah. What was it like socializing back into like huge groups of people? Did you find it was weird, or were you okay?
Yeah, I found it a bit weird because I'd gotten such I established such a tight-knit group that when it came to more people, I kind of didn't want to be around them. Yeah, because you get used to certain personalities, and once you start adding more people to the mix, it gets a bit overwhelming after a while.
Yeah, no, it does get like that, and it's weird because like when you're younger, you think that you need to have a whole bunch of friends, and you go through like this weird wave where you're like, I need so many friends, and then, or like when you're younger, you only have a couple of friends, then you start making heaps of friends because you think to be popular you need a lot of friends, and then after that you're just like, actually I only need like a couple good friends. Yeah. And then so from that you go into a bunch of things, but one thing that I know that you're really, really into was performing, and doing all a bunch of that stuff. I remember, I think you talking about, they were going to do like Moana, like live, and that was something you were interested in, like auditioning for that stuff, but you were really good at putting yourself out there. And one of the big performances that, most people do, or the colleges in the Cook Islands do, is, your end of year house, like for your dances and stuff. So like for that, did you feel like you were in your element?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because my natural performing arts thing is acting. Dancing wasn't one of my biggest strengths. That's something that I had to sort of work on throughout the years, and thankfully enough, I had friends that were willing to teach me and take the time out with me, like and like our cousin Maggie. She really helped me. She was extremely patient with me. But yeah, once we were participating in the inter-house sports, and we have different sports for each semester. So one is academics, the other is cultural sports, and then the other is just cultural, and that consists of action songs, drum dancing, and ute. And we were given, how long were we given? Like 2 weeks to prepare all of this stuff, and that's including choreography, learning the song, and also preparing costumes. And I loved it. I used to think that prepping for like theatre shows were hard, but prepping for cultural shows are way harder, because honestly, sometimes we don't get anything done until like the night before. There'll just be a whole bunch of talking, and then you realise, oh, okay, we got to get something done now. No,
it's super stressful, and I know that around that time, like, people start fainting a lot because people just like
we had multiple fainters, and then you'd have a whole bunch of kids that would refuse to eat just to look good on the night. And then after the performance, we'd have an ambulance outside to take them away.
So it's like messed up, but it's great at the same time. Like, I think what they need to do is start prepping a lot earlier. Because like the prep, honestly, like the last minute prep is just everyone's stressed. I know sometimes for like even Te Mai Vanui, people are like clipping stuff onto people just as they're about to
get on stage, or like the night before they'll have like an entire costume change or an entire choreography change. And
what was the greatest moment for you, like when you were on stage being able to do all that stuff?
I think the greatest moment for me was knowing that I was a part of this, and that I did do something in this. Because me and a group of other people, the drum dance hadn't been done. It was 2 days until the actual performance night. It needed to get done. We had our phone with the recording of the drum dance, and we were basically outside of the school for about a good 5 hours just trying to nail that down and get it done, so that the very next day we could just see everyone.
And then at your college as well, so is that a competition? It's a competition, eh?
Competition, you win a trophy and everything.
And now it's probably I don't know. I've always wrestled with this in my head, where I'm just like, if only we put that same energy into everything else that we do, like our academics and all that sort of stuff, because like a lot. Families get involved, whole
Yeah.
communities get involved to help each house. So what was that experience like?
Oh, there was a lot of pressure. Like, you'd have these people coming from outside of the school just hammering you and saying, like, look, I'm putting my reputation on the line. If you don't win, then, that's me. Like, people know who I am. Yeah. There was a lot of pressure being carried on our shoulders. This is college, so this would have been like 17-year-olds down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to go through that, and I know that when you win as well, because it's a subjective thing, and this is something that happens every single year. But when there's this, and then people, they start looking at who the judges were, and they never really appreciate just how good the people who won were.
Yeah.
Everyone starts talking about, oh my God,
cheating.
no, all the time.
We had one of the judges helping us. He didn't do much. He just basically gave us some tips on how to clean things up. And so, but he was also a judge. And because we won, they said, oh yeah, he helped him out. Oh yeah, his son's in that group. So that's why they won. And there was even going to be a lawsuit. So one of the family members of one of the other groups said that we had stolen a drum beat, and he was going to take our group to court.
So this is a
for
bunch of
stealing that beat.
A bunch of high school students. Just, man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. And I think that but what I do love about it is that people are so passionate about culture, and I think it's half competitive, but it's also half that we this is who we are, and that we want everything to be done properly. So that's where it all comes from, I think.
Yeah, because you'd have students up until like midnight till 5 a.m. just working on costumes or doing anything to just make it perfect.
And while you were at school, did you, when you started thinking about university and all that sort of stuff, because obviously we have a USP campus on Rarotonga, but you knew, so I was already at Otago, but you didn't really think about Otago at all. So what were your kind of aspirations for past high school?
I had considered Otago because initially I did want to go into health. I wanted to work and I wanted to be a cardiologist. Yeah. But that fell through because I wasn't succeeding. I wasn't good in maths, and also the science teachers that we had were absolutely horrible and just sort of killed my joy for science. Yeah. Yeah. But then I had this one amazing drama teacher that was there, and she really helped me out. She made me enjoy it, and she was supporting me the whole way, giving me options of where I could go, things I could work on, and she always gave the students that took drama different opportunities to not only work in theatre within school, but then also outside of school. Which is what I really enjoyed. I enjoyed having a teacher that was so interested in me and my future. Yeah.
It's weird how you have a role model like that, or just someone who takes an interest, the small interest, and you're just like, oh, cool, I could be like that. Yeah. So after that, you start thinking, okay, this is something I can do. What were your prospects in terms of where you would go to study?
Victoria was definitely my number one, mostly because it was in Wellington, which is Arts Central, and also I lived in Wellington for a bit. I've got a whole bunch of family here, so it would have been a lot easier moving here, and also there was Dad here with the house, so accommodation would have been sorted for me, and I didn't have to worry about halls. Yeah. And
then thinking about that move, so we'll talk about the actual shift. So you have to leave school, you have to leave your friends and your family, and a lot of your friends went to Auckland. Not many actually came to Wellington. But then you had to go from, so it's weird because when I turned 17, 18, I moved away from home. When you turned 18, you moved to home, you moved to live with Dad, and you were Dad's princess for the whole time, and you've always been his baby. How was that? Because that would have been difficult because you're actually starting to become really independent, and now you're having to live with him all the time, and he's starting to see you actually grow into yourself. How was that transition for you?
It was really weird because obviously I had a really well established relationship with Mum because I had grown up with her, but Dad didn't see me grow up, so he only ever saw me for the holidays. So he would have only remembered me as I was that last time, and because he'd only seen me for short periods of time, he'd sort of had a very minute understanding of what I was like. So living together was a bit tricky because then he realized that I wasn't just how I was before. I was a lot like this. I'm a lot more independent. I'm growing. I don't necessarily need a parent to parent me majority of the time. Because I'm trying to be as independent as possible. And grow up.
I think we're quite similar in that sense. We're like, you'll do what you need to do, but most of the time you just want to be by yourself as well.
Yeah.
Because you really enjoy your alone time, eh?
Yeah, I love it. And because in my head I was only essentially coming here for uni, so my drive was just to go to uni, come home, sleep. That was about it.
Yeah, you were like that in the first, because I remember, I think maybe my second year of my PhD, the year that I was going to move back to Raro, was the year that you came over to start uni. And I remember at the start of the year, like I was a little bit scared, because I remember when I moved to uni, like everyone was different. Everyone was like trying to be cool, all that sort of stuff. And I knew that the type of person you were, if you wanted to, you could be as social as you wanted and like go up to anyone, just sit with the group and talk and become friends with them. But I like wasn't sure if that was actually what was gonna happen. So how was that? So like because at your school you would have known anyone, you guys were part of like the cool crew and everyone knew who you were.
Yeah.
So going from like a very small school to actually moving into a university where there's so many different people, how was that? Like, was there a culture shock at all, or were you pretty okay?
Oh yeah, there was a massive culture shock, and it was so overwhelming as well. Like, I'm only used to Cook Islands people or the tourists that come over. I'm used to the jokes that we throw around, which is like really mean jokes. And there was just a whole bunch of politics involved with everything as well. Like, every time you spoke to someone, you had to make sure that you were talking to them correctly, using the right genders and stuff like that. All of the stuff that you'd never consider back home. It was really weird.
Yeah.
So I really had to educate myself a lot on how people spoke over here, how things were sort of running, and and it was weird going to a place with a whole bunch of Pacific Island people, and then going to a place where the demographic is predominantly white. Yeah.
And then when you went to your first couple of weeks, because I actually like pushed my trip back in Wellington, so I stayed in Wellington quite long. I think I let you start your first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was my first weeks.
Yeah,
and
so
you were still here.
So that just so that I knew you were all good, because I wanted to make sure, like, because it can be hard, especially like you were never schooled in New Zealand, so you never really got to see what it's like in New Zealand with a bunch of people in New Zealand. So you came straight over, but what did you do, or like what actually helped you get through that period?
I actually went to my O week, and in O week there is one specifically for Pacifica students.
That's right, yeah.
So that helped, because then I saw two people that were from Raro there, so I was with them majority of the time, and then I also got to meet other Cook Island students that were already at the uni. So I started I had a friend group there essentially with Pacifica people who I'm not really hanging out with now, but still that helped a lot, knowing that there were other people there, and other people from other islands that had moved here to New Zealand for uni, so I wasn't alone.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think a funny thing, I just remembered it now, but like just how much you have to get used to in your first couple of weeks, because we were here and then you were like, I missed my class.
No.
You thought that it like started at a time, but it actually started at the time it finished.
Yeah.
So all of those different things you have to like start
it has to get used to like a different timetable, because obviously at college you have a set time. You're at school from this time to this time. At uni you might be at uni for just like one day for an hour. So getting used to that, getting used to the travel as well, because Raro you can get anywhere in like 20 minutes. Getting used to traveling on the bus. Getting used to maybe not even talking to anyone in your class for the first few weeks, and only getting to know them later on.
Yeah. And then part of that, I guess, your journey, because so everyone listening now, you completed that degree. So what degree was that?
That was my Bachelor of Arts with a major in theatre.
Yeah. So you've completed that degree, you're going to go into your master's, but during that time, what I saw in you, and I guess it's part of the influences around you, was a bit of social activism as well, like stuff just starting to see, I guess, because when you grow up in the Cook Islands, there's politics. We know different families, we know different people who do different things. But when you move to a place where we've been severely colonized and all that sort of stuff, you start to understand more to the politics in terms of just hierarchies, or created hierarchies in like a sociological space. So for you, when did you start to realize that actually we're not the majority anymore, and we're in a place where we've been displaced, and that's not right?
I definitely noticed it in my theatre class. I took one theatre paper which was called theatre in Aotearoa.
Yeah.
And it was essentially just focusing on theatre by Pacifica people and Māori people and anything established here in Aotearoa. And there were so many white students that were so unhappy with the course because they were learning anything but theatre for white people.
Right.
And that's when I realised, like, oh my gosh, you're in a country that is not even, native people are Māori people, and yet you're still really unhappy that we have to learn this in our own class.
Yeah.
And just seeing how small their knowledge was for brown people, or like Pacifica in general, and also the numbers of brown people in theatre classes were also very small. Like in my first year, I think there was only like 10 of us, and then in my class for my final year there was 2 of us.
Right. So going into a space which is predominantly white as well.
Yeah.
How did you feel you had to carry yourself?
I had to be very proud. I had to stand my ground. Because, a lot of them will say things that are quite backhanded, and usually from what I've seen, they weren't prepared for someone to clap back or, correct them or anything. So I had to just be prepared to push back. Yeah.
What did you find were the best ways? Because I find that, so what I found is like a lot of my time, I just kind of wait for my time to jump in, because it's a real it's a backwards way of thinking, but sometimes like they say all these different things about you, and then, or like your type of people, and then you get angry about it because obviously they're taking shots at you, and then you were like, you want to go back just because like, hey, that's not right, but then it's just like, oh, you're angry, and you have to watch what you say, because then they take what you say and then just throw it into something else. Like, oh, that's like typical you, but like really the issue is that they have an issue with you, like, period. It's difficult.
Yeah, it took a while for me, because in my first year, I just sort of sat back and let them run with it, because I was like, oh, I don't think it's my place to talk. But then once it came to like my second year, I realised that actually my say, like my opinion actually does matter here, because there were some people that wouldn't take what I would say, and then there were others that would actually take it, listen, and then adapt with it. And those are the best sort of people. So once I started meeting those sort of people and knowing that they would also help me out, then I kept going and going.
Yeah. So like, I think it's, that's what I mean by like, you took your time and you found the right place to actually, because I mean, something that we all take fault in is that when we do get criticisms, it's easy to like, in that heat or in the moment of anger, just like go back. Yeah. And then that's when we put ourselves on the back foot. So if you like actually take your time, take it all in, and then formulate a really good answer, then that's a really good way of going about it. Because you not only put that person in their place, but you also educate the other people around them, and then they're like, you're an idiot. Yeah,
I used the great thing about theatre is that you can use your art form to say a lot of things. So a lot of my pieces were based around these sort of things. Like my most recent piece, solo piece, was about the housing crisis, but I had done it twist and made it into comedy, a lot like if you ever watch SNL, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, which is done by Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Murphy. So using those sort of things to help drive your argument, or
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with stand-up comedy, and a lot of that stuff is like it's actually used as a space for political activism, but like they cushion it with jokes so that it's more digestible, so that people don't think you're shoving it down your throat. Yeah. Did you find that that was how it was received when you did yours?
Yeah. It definitely was. Like there were a few people that were just
because of the things
they just felt really uncomfortable. But then eventually they eased into it. It was funny because all the white people in the crowd felt way too awkward and didn't really want to laugh because they felt like it was a stab at them, which it sort of was. And then you'd have all the brown people that would be laughing their asses off, and then afterwards they'll be like, man, that's so relatable, that's just like our lives. Which is good.
Because what I found, so what I do in a lot of my teaching is I make people do stuff, like I make people dance. And then so you can see the people who are very, very comfortable because it's something that they do often. And then you can see the people who are very uncomfortable. And then what I do at the end is I'm just like, if you felt uncomfortable for this 45-minute session, imagine walking a life where you're always uncomfortable. Yeah. Because that's how the system is set up. And so this little moment where you felt uncomfortable, just imagine that everyone you deal with is that uncomfortable every time they have to deal with you.
Yeah.
So that's what it probably was like for the white people in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I get feedback saying that it was such a strong and powerful piece. But yeah, just really, really hard hitting.
How did your teachers take it? Like, were they okay with this type of stuff that you were putting out, or did they like tell you to rein it back a bit?
One of my actual lecturer for this course did say that it was a bit too political.
Right.
She was American. But this is the thing. Whenever she'd speak to me, she'd only use te reo. I really did not like her. Because you'd notice that I was the only brown person in the class, and she'd only ever use te reo with me,
right?
Which felt awkward. But also, if there was anything that came up about brown people, Māori people, or any person of colour, she'd come directly to me, like I knew everything about brown people, and tell me to rein back on my stuff for politics. Yeah.
Really? Oh man, that's messed up. That's also, that's kind of like where we're still trying to find that middle ground. Like it's really cool that we have people who want to be educated and they want to, but like it needs to go for everyone as well, because everyone else needs to be educated as well. You're not the person who is paid to put these people in their place or to teach these people about these things.
Yeah.
Because this person, like, that's their full-time job. Yeah. Right. And then so for like a lot of the stuff that you're doing now, you actually got awesome opportunities to be part of sets and you took, so what I always tell people is that volunteering is actually what's going to put you ahead of everyone else. Like everyone's always looking for paid jobs, but like if you just take a little bit of a leap and actually take some time to put some time into something and get your foot in the door, it's going to push you career-wise. So I think a few years ago, maybe I was here. Yeah, a few years ago I came back and you were working like a set for something, and you were kind of just the person who was organising everything for this particular set.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot. So what was going on there?
So that was a film that I was working on, and it was an educational film for Space Place. If you've ever been to Space Place or one of those, what's it called?
Like an observatory?
Observatories. Yeah. There'll be a dome, and within those domes, they'll show educational films for schools that come over. So I was asked to work as an assistant director on this little project, and it was a 20-minute film, essentially talking about traditional navigation and following the stars and stuff like that. And it was all in motion capture, which is like animation and stuff like that. And my job was to coordinate meetings, get talent, schedule whatever needed to be done for the shoot or for everyday work. Just everything in the middle that people couldn't really pick up.
Yeah, and how did you actually get that role?
Oh, I got that role. So when I was taking film, my lecturer, her name is Lala Rolls, she had worked on a film that was following Pacific Voyagers. And I had done a short film, which was one of my assignments, on a Pacific Voyager.
Oh, right.
And she was like, oh, this is so crazy because I've just done this film on Pacific Voyagers. She was following Tupaia, the life of Tupaia. And she was like, oh, yeah, I know all of these people. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, I know them from back home. Some of them are my uncles. Some of them are my aunties. And she enjoyed the fact, she loved it because the film that we were going to work on was on navigation. Yeah. I had sailed. Yeah. I knew about navigating. I knew our traditional navigators that we got in for the project as well. So everything sort of fell in place.
Yeah, right. And then you had to take that role because that was after your first year, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you were barely qualified, really.
Yeah. I had no experience in film, like proper film, at all.
So you had to learn about it.
Yeah, on the go.
Yeah, and did you enjoy it though?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I got to meet a whole bunch of different people, and just get new skills, basically, obtain new skills. How often can you say that you worked on a mocap film? Because this also took us to work at Park Road, which is where all post-production for Peter Jackson's films are done.
Yeah.
So I got to work in there. I got to meet the people that had worked on The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I got to sit in the recording booth where Ed Sheeran recorded Icy Fire. That's right. It was great.
Yeah. Now, something else that carries over into this as well. So if you think about your classes are filled with predominantly white people, and then you're going into this area. So one thing that I still get, like I'm a doctor and everything, and I still go into rooms and I still feel like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like what are they gonna think about me? How was it? Because you would have only been like 19 at the time, and you were going to, you're executive producer,
Assistant director.
So like you're top dog. Like a lot of people are listening to you. How did you like get over it that you're like, because you're like, I've only done 1 year, they're gonna know, or did you just like, were you just happy to take it and just run?
I was happy to take it and just run. I felt really confident in this role because I knew a lot about what we were going to be working with.
Right.
So a lot of the times when people would come to me, it was for advice, which made me feel great because I was like, yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, right.
I feel like if I had no knowledge on the project that we were working on, that I would have felt a lot more scared.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because then, I would have been walking in like, oh, hey, do you know what this is about? Like, can you explain this to me?
Yeah. But were there times where you felt like you could ask for help if you didn't know?
Yeah, 100%. So there were times when we were talking about shooting schedules and stuff like that, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
But I had a lot of people that were willing to help me.
Yeah. So the technical side of things, you're just like, but like there's other people who train their whole life for this anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? Oh, cool. No. And just one thing I've always been curious about. So you go from wanting to be, so the person in theatre, you want to be the actor, you want to be the person front and centre on the screen. Mm-hmm. How is it actually taking the back seat and being the person who's running around in the background, actually getting it all ready for those people?
I actually realised that I enjoyed that more because I had a lot more control over things. I had a say in how things could change.
Right.
If you're an actor, you will have a say, but then at the end of the day, it's the director that makes that final decision. And also, my say matters in that area. Like, if I say like, look, this doesn't sound right. This is what a Māori person would say, or this isn't really honouring us in the right way. What I say will matter.
Yeah.
Because then I can make the changes.
Right. So
that big seat.
Have you ever got into like, so that's the production side of things. You were actually doing some of that back in the Cook Islands, eh?
Yes.
What was that involved in?
So I was a part of the AV crew, which is audiovisual crew for the Ministry of Cultural Development, and pretty much on the nights of Te Maivanui or Dancer of the Year and stuff like that, I would be one of the film crew.
Right.
Filming anything, so anything that you might have seen in like 2018 for MOCD, I probably filmed that.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing, is like a lot of the spectacle that you see, to be able to broadcast it to the world, you actually need the proper equipment, like the mics, the everything, and then the people running that show. So you, like, actually, if we think about being unqualified, at that age, how old had you been?
I would have been like 17, 18.
And you're having to do that sort of stuff. Yeah. So like you learn a lot on the fly.
Yeah, it was great. So a bunch of us were taking media at the time, and MOCD actually offered up this little internship. Yeah. So we jumped at it, and we had no idea what we were doing. We had a week to learn. So while the groups were rehearsing, we'd go in with the cameras and try and like just practice it out, because live is really scary. You can't take a second shot.
Yeah.
As with filming, you have a chance to screw up and do whatever you need to do to fix things up. But
you can do post-production as well.
Yeah. But live, you're streaming it, everyone's watching it. If you shake that camera, the whole world's going to see it.
Yeah. And if you cut to the wrong camera as well.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so cool. So from that, when you got that taste of things, did you have a feeling that like you're going to be more on the production side of things, or were you always kind of dabbling between the two? I
was still half and half at that time, because I was at my final year. This was the first time that I had worked on something in film.
Yeah.
So I was still tossing things up.
Yeah. And then so part of that, so I mean, it's one of those difficult things where I was having it too, where like culturally I'm getting really strong, and a lot of the work that I'm doing here is to do with culture and to do with like different health outcomes for our own people. But then on top of that, like I really want to get out and view the world.
Yeah.
You were lucky, you got to go to Korea because like, what actually came first? Was it your trip to Korea, or did you have a love for Korean things?
Love for Korean things first.
Yeah.
And then my trip to Korea.
Okay.
That's what my love for Korean things is what pushed my trip.
Right.
For Korea.
So you got to go over there
Yeah.
and pretty much have one of the coolest times of your life.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So how old were you, and then what did you actually end up doing?
I was 18 when I went over there, and I was there for a week.
Yeah.
I stayed with one of Mum's friends, and he's a, I hope I get his title. He's a director for UNESCO.
Right.
in South Korea, and they had met when he came over to Raro to sort out some stuff for UNESCO, and Mum was actually his tour guide.
Ah, right.
At the time that she was working at Ministry of Education, and through there they were connected. And then once I found out that he was living there, I told Mum, like, oh hey, I want to go there, and then that sorted out, and then me and him started emailing, and then we sorted out a time for me to fly over. I stayed with him and his wife for a week. We got to go to the borders, which is basically where you can see which is the edge of Korea, and you can see North Korea.
Yeah. Right.
And that's like military, it's full of military bases.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of guns and stuff like that. It's really, really scary.
Right.
And throughout the week I was by myself, so I had to figure out how to get around, which was by subway or walking or the buses, which is a mission in its own, because if you don't get off at the wrong place, you're stuck.
Yeah. Do they speak English?
They really push to speak English.
Yeah.
They're the sort of country where if you don't know the language and they don't know English, they will try their best to speak English to help you out.
Right.
Yeah. If not, and you're at a cashier, they won't talk to you. They'll just give you the price of everything, and you'll be on your way.
So they can communicate with you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the cool thing about humans. Like, if you want to help each other out, you'll always find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing about being there?
I think I got to see one of the companies for one of the Korean groups that I really enjoyed. I was just standing outside there for ages, just looking at it.
The BTS one?
No, it wasn't the BTS one. It was another group called GOT7. I got to see their little industry area, their recording studios. I got lost and found it.
Well, you didn't get lost then.
Yeah.
When you were there, what was the things about your own culture? Because at that point, you're pretty much like solid in your Cook Islands culture. And then what were some things that you saw as similarities or disparities between like us and South Koreans?
Definitely the respect between different age groups. Right. So 100% respect your elders is like a thing that goes a very long way over there. Also, their family dynamics, it's usually the head of the house that controls everyone else, which is a lot like us now, but we're sort of easing out of that.
Yeah.
They're extremely religious. Well, the people that I lived with were extremely religious.
Right.
And religion back home is a very strong thing, and also their culture is very, very strong.
Right.
So even though there's this whole modern lifestyle that's come through, they haven't really let go of their old school traditions.
True. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So you learn a lot while you're there in that 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any trips that you have, like, you want to go back?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to go back in 2020, but then the lockdown happened, and
that's right. Yeah, I remember you talking about that. And then, so while you're over there, did you was there any experiences that you had that you're just like, this is uniquely South Korea?
Not only the language, but like I said, the culture. Like you can't get that anywhere else. And also, I think it's just a lifestyle. Like it's just it's indescribable. Like you come to somewhere like New Zealand, and you know it's a New Zealand place,
right?
And you go to Korea, and you know you're in South Korea,
right? So it's just a
just
vibe.
indescribable.
It's
yeah,
just a vibe you get. Yeah. And is it true that they're really cosmetically aware?
Oh yeah, 100%. You walk down the street and you've got a whole bunch of cosmetics stores left and right, and also it's really, really cheap to get any face masks or all those sort of products. So when I came back, I think for a pack of 20 face masks, that was about
the cleansing face masks.
Yeah. I think those were the equivalent to, I want to say, $5 New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So everything is cheap. Yeah. So, and also, they've got just so many face salons. So I went to one of those salons, and it's an hour long of you just getting your face washed, getting your pimples popped, everything. You get the works.
Do they say anything about it? Did they explain why, or is it just something that they do?
I think it's just something that they do.
Right. So looking young and all that sort of stuff, and just being...
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, we'd not really it's the total opposite here. No one really cares or anything. Yeah. Is it something to do with class, you reckon?
I think it might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Presentation is always a really big thing.
Yeah.
You got to go out looking your best. They've got this thing. Shoulders isn't a very it's a very frowned upon thing, so you can't show your shoulders. I didn't know that, so the first day that I went there, I was like walking around in the pareo, and I was getting all these looks, and then I asked Chin Sung, who I was staying with, oh, why are they looking at me like that? And he was like, oh, you're not supposed to be showing your shoulders. It's the equivalent of showing your ankles or your knees, or
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in the more conservative cultures and stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So what oh man.
But you could show your legs for days.
Oh, so it's something inbuilt in them. So I mean, it's okay. It's one of those things that we don't really have a right to say.
Yeah,
because it's their
but
culture.
that was something I had to get used to because I had I didn't know anything about that before I went there,
Yeah.
and now I know.
And then now, so now that you're living here, and your probably last couple topics we'll talk about, but the first one is, now that you've got a closer, I mean, you've always been close with all of us, but now you get to be with Mata a little bit more and be with our nan and our aunties and stuff. How does it feel? So when you were here, like, you spent a lot of time out there, but now that you're here and established yourself like here and you've got a life and everything, like, what does it feel like when you go back to the places that you used to be as a child?
I feel a lot more grounded there. Like, as I said before, like, when I came here, I didn't feel like I fit in because I was just sort of there for a couple of weeks and then gone. But now that I'm with everyone like a lot more, I feel a lot more at home, so I feel less awkward. I've got this proper established relationship. I've seen people grow up. I've grown up alongside them. I feel like I'm a part of the joke now.
Yeah, that's right. A part of the joke, and we're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And then, so how's it been? So, like, even watching, because the three of us, we barely live together. Like, if I really think about it, like, someone was either back in the Cook Islands, someone was down in Dunedin, someone moved to Porirua, and we haven't really grown up together too much. So when you listen to us, we all sound so different.
Yeah.
But how has it been, like, being closer to our other brother?
It feels a lot better.
Yeah.
He's not just a stranger anymore. Like, he was never a stranger, but now I can like talk or call him whenever. Usually I just see him when I came to New Zealand.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I want to see him, I go down to Porirua with no problems. I stay home for as long as I want. It feels like a proper sibling relationship.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think that's really cool. And then another thing is, as you're going into your masters, so what does that entail?
So what I'm doing is a Masters of Fine Arts, creative practice. Yeah, fine arts. So it's a 12-month intensive course, and throughout that time, I developed my skills as a director, producer, and script writer.
Right.
And the end result is to have a production, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what type of production do you have in mind?
I've got set sort of imagination of a Broadway production.
Ooh.
Because I want it to be based on Cook Islands culture or Cook Islands legend.
Right.
And one of our strong sides is our music and our dance, which will obviously make it shine. And if I were to put a casting out, there will be a lot more performing artists, like dancers and singers that will hopefully like to be a part of it.
Yeah,
it's weird because performing arts is a really big thing, but theatre isn't. So trying to get people to be a part of theatre is really weird.
Right, yeah, because like they're used to being on stage, but there's just different conventions.
Yeah, because I remember when we used to have like little theatre productions back home in Raro, and we'd have these amazing dancers. They'll be like Dancer of the Year and all that sort of stuff. But the moment you get them into an acting role, it's like everything's gone.
Right. Yeah, that's quite interesting because I know, like even when you see people who perform, so for example, when we watch it at MUN, and like they're obviously really, really good at their martial art and their performance, and they like get out in front of like thousands of like huge crowds, and they do these huge like exhibitions of their own. So they're definitely good performers. Yeah. But then when it comes to acting, it's just a different thing. Like, yeah. Until they actually have to do the thing that they're good at, it's just really bad. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think it is? Like, because there's just no confidence in what they do, or
either that, or it's just they've honed in all of their talent to this one skill. Yeah. Or they've just basically never had the opportunity to, try out their arts in different ways. That's right. Or their talent in different ways.
And another one of your friends actually did a production, right? Like the script writing and everything for something which was, at the time, quite contention. Like quite full of contention. Yeah. And you guys ended up doing it. How was that? So, like, how was that? Because you're pretty much working with your friends. It was almost like an Adam Sandler film where, like, you all, like the director, you guys all knew.
Yeah.
You all work together and you're all friends. So you're spending every day together just trying to work through this production. Is that something that you'd like to create?
Oh yeah, 100%. I found it a lot more easier working with people that you already know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but ideas just roll a lot better when it's people you know, because I think you're all on the same wavelengths.
Right.
And you understand how each other thinks, and you're not scared of stepping on each other's toes as well.
Yeah, because you can really make or break friendships, I think, in those sorts of things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and therefore, so for your type of production, if you're doing a Broadway, because you haven't started yet, when do you actually start?
I start in Feb.
Okay, and then so when you're going through and doing all of that, like, will there be filming aspects to it, or will it mostly just be coming up with screenplay?
It'll
script,
because it's in theatre, my major's going to be in theatre, so it will just be the production side.
Right.
I would like to film it someday, but I think that'll be a later date. I have to get the production out of the way first.
Yeah, nice.
And get something on the page.
Yeah, so you'll be writing songs and everything. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be full on. It's going to be exciting to look out to. Is there anything else that you're really excited about for this year?
Not really. I've got my graduation coming up, which I'm quite excited for as well.
Yeah.
Been my first time graduating.
Yeah.
I hope it's worth the hype.
It's pretty full on, but like it's always worth it. I mean, being celebrated and stuff is pretty cool as well. So then I just have one final question that I ask everyone, and usually this leads on to other questions as well. But what is something that you do every day or close to every day that makes you feel like you've optimized your day?
Recently over the summer, I take some time to go out in the sun.
Nice.
Yeah, it just makes me feel so relaxed and at peace. Like, I don't even go on my phone. Most of the time I'll sit on my phone, but when I'm out in the sun, I can just sit there and take it all in, and really, just be with myself.
Yeah, so you just take some time out to be by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I get darker and I like it.
Yeah, sun's good for you. It's really, really good for you. And also, you probably clean stuff.
Oh, yeah, 100%, yeah. My cleaning, whenever I'm stressed or feeling any sort of way, I clean, and it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
It gives me clarity. I enjoy cleaning because I can control what's going on with my cleaning. Sometimes in life you can't control everything, but with cleaning, if I wipe something, the dirt will be gone.
Yeah.
It's something I can control.
And it's always just been something that I've known about you, because since I can remember, and since summer and all that sort of stuff, like if I make my bed, I always come back in and it's remade, and I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that's with everyone.
Yeah. What is it like? What do you see when you see something like dirty or see something out of place? Like what happens in your brain?
I just have to clean it because it just doesn't look right to me. It looks improper. Like, this is what I have to explain to my friends all the time as well, because I'll clean the house and then I'll re-clean it.
Yeah.
It's not right until I do it. That's like with me and mum as well. Like, whenever we used to go do house sitting, we would always clean the house to our standards.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much the person has cleaned it.
Right. Goodness me.
I know.
I think that's maybe it's just part of your controlling nature. Do you just like to be in control of things? Or
No,
like
not all the
control of
time.
the things that you can control?
Yeah, the things that I can control, I'll make the most of it.
Yeah, because that was like when you were talking about your like being on the productive side of things. You can actually make changes to see how you want it to go.
Yeah.
Right. When you do see things though, so say for example, sorry, this is a big thing. When you do see something that you feel is wrong, or like an injustice or something like that, or something that you just know won't go over well later, was there an urge in you to like correct that as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it'll eat at me later on, and I'll just keep thinking like, oh, what if I had done something?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in theatre, if there's something that doesn't sound right or doesn't feel right, I will address it right away, because I know at the end of the day, if it's going to affect me or anyone else coming after me, then, I should do something about it.
Nice. And like, I think you'll be similar to mum. So like, what people don't know about mum is that mum definitely will speak up a lot of the time, but where she lives in an area where everyone knows everyone, and it's really easy for rumors to start. So like, I think a lot of the time when I hear stuff about mum, I'm like, no, actually that's not, she's just straight up, she just told you that she didn't like something.
Yeah.
And it's weird how people take, like, people like, hey, when you did that, that's not right. We need to do it like this.
Yeah.
And then people automatically just turn it and say, she's a bitch.
Yeah. That's the thing in our family. Like, our family is very straight up. Like, if you look at all of our aunties, if you look at, like, Auntie Ingia, she's the most straight up person I've ever met. But yeah, a lot of people don't like her just because of how she is.
Yeah, she'll be honest.
Yeah.
She'll be honest, and a lot of people don't like honesty.
She will yell at her own kids or her own nieces and nephews.
Yeah, I was going to say, she'll yell at people who aren't even her own kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I personally like it in terms of personal traits that people have. I like that we are straight up and that we just say, if we don't like something, we'll say it. But we're not mean about it.
Yeah.
I think we only get mean if we've told you multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing in our family. I know Mum always said about Papa Tapuki, our great-grandfather, he never liked to say things 3 times. He would say it once and once only.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear it, then oh well.
Yeah, right. And then you're the one in trouble. Yep.
Yeah.
You've heard it here, and this is how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I'm just thinking like forward and where you want to go after all of this. So say you do your production and things go well and you keep getting the opportunities that you are getting. Where would you like to see yourself?
I hope to see myself back home in a proper theatre establishment, which doesn't exist currently back home. Yeah. I'd like to have a theatre establishment back home. I want to be teaching or supporting future artists and giving them the opportunities that we should be getting.
Yeah. And do you think, I think that's going to be a really cool gateway with, like, for example, this Broadway show. If you can start casting people who, like, getting us, really. Because then that's kind of bridging that gap there. You're actually giving people that opportunity to get into it.
Yeah, I think that's the one downfall. We don't have very many opportunities because a lot of things aren't written for us.
Right.
It's written for others, and I hope to change that.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of us upcoming theatre folk are hoping to change. We're hoping to provide homes or job opportunities for us Cook Islands people.
Oh, cool. No, that's awesome. And we're really looking forward to seeing all that coming out. You've actually got a lot going on this year, and you've got a lot of things that are going to come out. So you're going to do your production. We're going to have that documentary series come out. So that's going to be, I mean, we didn't talk about it too much here, but you know that that's coming, and you can find out some other stuff about your upbringing here in New Zealand. And I mean, there's plenty. Yeah. There's plenty for you to go off. So I'll put your Instagram and everything in the handle when it comes out.
Awesome.
Oh, no, it's been awesome. It's been a really cool chat.
Cool.
No, thank you so much.
Thanks. No worries.
Take care.